Hello, everybody in internet land. Hello, hello. Are we going now? We're going now. Okay. Hello. Hi. Okay. So, oh, happy Saturday, everybody. Did everybody get to watch the video? I don't know. There's nobody here yet because I am late. It is just afternoon on a Saturday, which means it's time for the Saturday RadChat. Isn't it interesting how that works? Hello, hello, hello. What's up, world? It's a really nice day here. It's a really, really nice day here. So, welcome to Tennessee. It's a big state. Um, I just don't want to put the camera in the sun. That's the only thing, really. But I also don't want to sit here and hold it. 'Cause that's awkward as all shit. Um, hmm. I wonder if I could find something to set it on. I wonder if I could have done this before I turned it on, like the. Thank you for the like, somebody. Is that you, honey? um, what up, Mary? How you doing? Nice to see you, girl. How you been? What up, Looney? Hi, hi. Cool, cool. Let's see. We got the umbrella sort of wedged up there today. I don't know if you can see it, just sort of wedged up there. Hopefully it'll be a little more secure this week and it won't get blown away, but we'll see, right? Oh, I'm here too. That about sums it up. I have a piece of hair in the middle of my forehead that just does not want to cooperate with me at all. Not that doesn't describe my hair all the time, anyhow. You know, that's why I like hats. Get so many compliments on my hats. I've been going through some stuff. It's been a week. You look super cute, though. Thank you. Thank you. I bet you do too. I feel like we never know when we look cute. Our cutest. Like, that's part of the charm, right? It's like that stupid song. God damn that. Why do they always got to ruin everything? Seriously, though, I need to find something to set this on so I don't have to put it in the sun because that worked. When I had shade over here, and now I don't. Because reasons that, oh my God, I don't want to go into. It's been so many years, several years running at this point. I've been trying to get a nice little covered patio over here in one method or another, and I just cannot seem to make that happen. And like, what the fuck? Thank you for the hat. It's just a straw hat, like Walmart with a brooch, a broken one. Actually, it's supposed to have like a gem there or something. There we go. Free hands. All right. So I can smoke now. Did you guys like the video? Mary, I know you saw it. Lenny, did you watch the video? It's a bit of a shorter one this week because, well, I've had a bit of a week myself, so isn't it funny how that stuff gets around? That, if you've had a bit of a week, there's a really good chance that a lot of other people did too, unfortunately, and for whatever reason. Oh, thank you, honey. You're not so bad yourself, big boy. Oh, good, good, good. I probably could have delved deeper into some of that. I do think that for some reason we have this idea. I have run into this idea many times, actually, that the idea of like the housewife as the ideal was invented in the post-war period. It's like, middle class people existed before that. Like Western society before that would have looked fairly familiar to people. Like, in a lot of ways, culturally and technologically, we're still living in the Victorian period or a backlash to it. Like, what up, big plans? How you doing? I'm always blushing. Yeah. Well, I think is that called sunburn or rosacea. You know, as much time as I spend outside, that's when history started to die, right? Right? Obviously, before World War II, there was no world. It's like, what? Oh, man. Being raised by boomers, discovering the culture of the 1930s and 40s is like a mind fuck, isn't it? Well, during World War II, women were working in the factories. When the men came home, they needed to fire the women so men could have jobs. Like legit. I'm not saying that there wasn't an intense revival of this idea during that time, because there was. But like the Doom Zoo or something, Morbid Zoo. Sorry. In her video, sort of hypothetically, ask the question of like, but why is post-war femininity relevant to us now? And it's like, what do you mean why? Like duh. You don't have to sell me on that idea. I am a little older, I guess, but like, I like to think even if I was 20, you wouldn't have to sell me on that idea. We're all still like, our media landscape was in a lot of ways kind of frozen in amber in like the 60s, right? So to the point where do we just keep turning back up the same symbolism over and over and over again? What up, Philological? How you doing? We got 7 people here. That's awesome. Can we get 7 likes? So there's Rosie the Riveters had money. All these Rosie the Riveters had money, freedom, self-autonomy, and overnight lost the economic power that gave them that ability. So they had to reshape women's role. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've literally personally spoken to women who lived through this and watched, the way the culture, which again, a lot of this was media driven, right? It was like everybody just kind of decided to forget all that independent women shit. Right? And like the Hays Code came in, so movies changed, television became a thing. Okay, the difference in that decade in the cultural attitude was apparently stark. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm saying they didn't invent that idea. The idea of the home as woman's sphere, like I was literally reading last year about the ancient Greeks had that idea. That, the home was a woman's world and the outside was a man's world. Thank you for all the likes. That was pretty good. Thank you. Like the ancient Greeks had this idea. It was oikos and oh, doggone it. I don't speak fucking Greek. But like, I don't remember the words for it. But like, they invented the burqa and they called it a little house. Okay. So essentially, when the woman would go out of the house, she could take a little bit of it with her because that's where she was supposed to be. This is an ancient idea. We did not come up with this in the modern era. And that is so weird that I keep encountering this idea. Like before that, like it's some sort of white revisionism, like colonial revisionism that wants to project the idea of, woman as a housewife as the ideal backwards. Like, no, that was the ideal. A lot of people were never going to meet that and sucks to be them. Yeah, you wanted to be wealthy enough to achieve that. It's an ideal. It was the goal for a very, very long time. And if you were too poor to have that lifestyle, well, that was part of why being poor sucked. This is not new. I could have gone more into that in the video. I touched on it a couple of different times. Like, history did not begin in 1946. Women's, confusion over what exactly we're supposed to be doing with our lives did not begin in 1946. That's absurd. And again, I think it may be because she's younger, but like the other mother to me really does touch on, like, she wants to absorb you, right? She eats their lives. She doesn't physically eat them like a spider. She eats up their lives, which is the kind of shit that when I first saw this, I was like 25 and confused the shit out of me. I'm like, wait, what? What does that even mean? Like they're ghosts. They're clearly dead. It could have just been that she ate them. No. You think some more pondering over what women for might have come about as technology reduced the amount of time required for housework? Like more moments to stop and think. Yes. And if you read, she mentions Betty Friedan, and that I've actually read that book. If you read The Feminine Mystique, she touches on that a lot of these women were educated and had their own jobs, and then all of a sudden found themselves in the kitchen with the dishwasher and the washing machine running and nothing to do. Yeah, that was definitely a thing. For sure. And it's really easy to look from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s and kind of watch the cultural evolution because we have a lot of it on film, right? And I do. In a way, I kind of get it. Why people kind of think that history sort of started when it did, because that's the bit we have recordings of, right? Before that, it was all some asshole with a pen and a piece of paper, and who has time for that? It doesn't fit into like our modern method of interfacing with that stuff in the same way, right? The older stuff doesn't. It's not in the right format. It's literally just not in a different format. It's not in the format that we interface best with, if you want to think of it like that. But yeah, if you go back and look at the stuff that people were writing hundreds and thousands of years ago, it's the same shit in a different format. We didn't actually invent this. And it's interesting how we sort of have this amnesia about it in that way. Like on the one hand, I love recorded media. How fucking cool is that? You can go back and literally hear the voices and essentially almost meet somebody who was, dead decades before you were even born. That's amazing. There is just no way that that's not going to have enormous cultural ripple effects. For sure. But at the same time, history didn't begin with the invention of the video camera, did it? And I think that we definitely need to take care to not let that stuff all get left behind. Baby with the bathwater kind of thing. Like, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the ancients were so much more wise than we know. They weren't. But on the other hand, people have come up with some stuff over time that is worth keeping, I think. And it's a debate that should be had. We shouldn't just throw out everything and just start no. I don't think that's a good idea. What is that saying about those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it? Right? Yikes. Just from what I know about it, that doesn't sound like any fun at all. It sounds like an enormous, destructive waste of time. These days, we just seem to have this dichotomy, though, where you either are completely future-oriented, and the past sucks, or, you're sort of the other mindset, where you're completely, the history was better. And they're both wrong. I think they're both wrong. I don't think that the future is going to be all that interesting if we don't carry forward any of the lessons we should have learned from some of this stuff. Because you look at history and some of that shit is crazy. And I think the lessons about some of it to us are obvious, partly because of the way it's been framed, but also partly because we as a society, as a species, no, we actually did learn that. And sometimes sometimes that becomes the story of how, like, we as a species learned something, right? I don't think we should forget that stuff. I think that's important. And we are the heirs to a massive pile of that kind of stuff, right? Most of it is written. Most of it's in written format. Not everyone minds that, of course. That's not necessarily a problem so much as a stumbling block, as a hurdle, for like the mass dissemination of good stuff. If it's just, in a book somewhere, that's harder to find. Shit. I'm babbling so much my cigarette went out, you guys. Then I stopped talking to catch my breath and I lost half my people. What the hell? What y'all doing? Y'all quiet. Y'all went quiet on me. Where's everybody? I could just sit here and talk to myself, but it's going to be disjointed and rambly. Because I'll just be sitting here talking to myself. And I had to go back. Oh my God, you guys. So I had my ending to the story, right? Because I'm writing a book. Well, 3 of them. I'm writing a series of 3, a story. It's a big, long story. And I had the ending, right? So I kind of rushed through the 3rd volume of the series to get it done. Because I really, really wanted to get it done. By that point, it had been like a year and a half. So I was really, really, really just gunning for that finish line, you know what I mean? And like, fools rush in. Like, oh my God. I didn't have the solution to the mystery of the 3rd book. Nor did I have one of the most important characters really fleshed out well enough for him to perform his duties to the plot. So it doesn't quite work. On your way home from work, so you can't watch the chat a lot. We're still listening. Right on. Like, that's cool. I'm glad everybody's here. I am just going to end up sitting here talking to myself, though. So, like, if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. I do that. Just anyway. But you've been warned. Yeah, anyway. So then I took the summer off because the kids were home from school, to do family stuff and be mom and all that. And during that time, it's still percolating, still cooking in the back there. And I managed to find the solution to my mystery over the summer, which is cool, right? But and then I said to myself, well, shit, that means I have to rewrite. I have to. And what it is had ripple effects to other stuff. And now it's 3 months later and I have to rewrite the whole fucking book. Not the whole thing, but a lot of it. I do. What was the mystery? Like, girl, I can't tell you. I can't. That's spoilers for book 2. I can't do that. No. You're just gonna have to read the damn thing. Like, I'm sorry. I know. What are the bad guys doing and how and why? That's essentially the bad guy's motivation. That took me a while to come to because I don't really understand how people like that think. Next year I should have time to actually read it. Oh, right on. By next year there should be something to actually read. No, I mean, no, you could read hypothetically book 1 and 2, but gosh, if there isn't a lot of stuff missing. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. It's like you got like 2/3 of book 1 and book 2 that exist at the moment, and I have to go back, and that's what I was planning on doing this fall. Is going back and implementing all the notes I have for that stuff. Yes, dear. Huh? You need a bath bad? All right, fine. Take a bath. I don't understand how villains think you'll try harder. Yeah. No. Don't try too hard. I don't need to live with one. We can just go and visit some or something. We were planning on maybe going to Cleveland anyway, right? Ah! But yeah. So, and one of the characters was just being stubborn. I really had to work to get him just right. So that's been an adventure too. Because I mean, long story short, there's a romantic interest, and like if he doesn't make sense, then the protagonist doesn't make sense. Because they have a relationship with one another. So he's trying to dodge out of cleaning again. Oh, okay. Well, then don't give him a bath right now. You're in charge of that right now. I'm not trying to second guess you, my dear. But yeah, so I have to go back and do a total overhaul of book 3. The ending's the same. But yeah. Oh my god. I have to go in and like the protagonist is not the hero of the story. Right. I've said this a couple of different times. I think back when I first figured this stupid shit out. Because it's not stupid. I feel stupid. Okay. Like, I don't know. There's all kinds of why quickly is there a publishing deadline? No. No. I'm impatient. And it's all in here. I just want to get it done. Like if I had an assistant, they would be typing constantly. Okay, because I. So there's no deadline. It's me pushing myself to get it done. Well, and I mean to be fair, also like this shit could stretch out forever, right? Like you got to kind of push yourself so that it doesn't languish. I'm similar with my thesis. Really, just wanted to be over already, right? It probably was a passion project at some point, right? Like not to say that this isn't or that isn't anymore, but yeah, they're definitely you get to a point where you're like, why did I do this to myself? Why did I? Oh. And I knew what it was, though. I did. I knew what it was when I started it. I'm like, ooh, this is a big project that's going to take a lot of research and a lot of time. Shit. Yeah. Um, and then even like beyond that, and I just, yeah, and I know I've just been sort of playing with a lot of these ideas for quite a while now, and I'd really like to just sort of, get it out there and get it done. And what I was getting at is that I finally managed to actually just sit down the other day and do the new outline for book 3. I got that done. Yes. So that's a relief. That's really good. And it splits up differently than I had split it up. So that's fun. It's sort of like a puzzle. But, I had put it together in this way that you couldn't really tell there were any pieces missing. So then when I put in the missing pieces, everything kind of went. Does that make any sense? Thank you. Yes. It only took 4 pages. Although, to be fair, they were these pages. So maybe 2 real notebook pages. Oh my gosh. Now, where is it? I got to get it copied over into the. Oh, that's the beginning. It's not there. It's in here somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Right here. Bam. I got to get it copied into the right notebook. But what up, Susie? How you doing? Thank you. What was it that struck you? Because I really just felt like I was kind of throwing some ideas out there. And I felt like she really missed a little something in the symbolism behind the other mother. And that's interesting about that book. It was written by a man. So, like, I feel like whatever I'm seeing in the symbolism might be me projecting, but gosh, if it isn't fun and like illuminating, right? Because it's still something I'm seeing. It's just my own psyche, right? PB. Again, I cannot read that and not think Princess Bubblegum. Princess Bubblegum is in the chat. What? And I gotta move this. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to actually shade like I need. The wind's died down. We'll see. Now you're in the sun again. Oh. Yes. The vid got me really curious. Do you examine the mother figure in medieval myth? Because there's a surprising amount of monstrous mothers there. Right. Well, and you see, this is something that the reason that I think this got missed is because we don't necessarily think of the role of mother as applying to ourselves, do we? It's not portrayed that way to us even as kids anymore, that is necessarily going to be your fate. Okay? But imagine if it were. Imagine if you'd been, the same way we get messages from our society where you don't even realize that you've been getting them your entire life since you were born even. Imagine if the message that you've been getting was, you will be a mother, 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 whether you want to or not. You will be a mother because that is what you were for. Okay? Then I can completely see how that archetype, that idea, might become a lurking horror in the back of your mind. If it's not something that appeals to you, something that you may not even have consciously come to because you never asked yourself, do I want to have children? Because that's not a question. Like, this is real female horror, right? Right. It's not a choice. Walking time capsule. Walking ticking time bomb. Yeah. Uh-huh. And, imagine then having talents elsewhere, right? What a waste. What a waste you would have to feel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of us modern women, I don't think we really understand this conundrum because we were not forced to see ourselves in that role. A lot of us. That if you decide that it's mandatory, you kind of decided that. Or, you look at this shit I have to deal with. Oh my God. Fuck you too. Oh my God. We hear so much about toxic masculinity. It's interesting to examine the nature of what toxic femininity looks like. The munchy mother is a big part of the transing kids phenomenon. Oh, like Munchausen. Yeah. Yeah. Munchausen by proxy is like one of those things that, quite frankly, I am both relieved and terrified is like in the zeitgeist and like people know what that is, so I don't have to explain it. Because imagine trying to explain that to someone who wasn't actually familiar with it as a concept. It sounds nuts because it is. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, unfortunately, right? Ooh, hang on. Well, that's not gonna stay there. That's just not gonna work at all. That might. Oh, well, we'll see. Do y'all reckon Munchausen is common, even in maybe a milder form? Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing about psychology is that in order for something to qualify for a diagnosis, it has to seriously impact your life. So like if it doesn't reach the level of like, I don't know, going to see somebody about it, which if you think about it, that's pretty fucking bad before you're going to see anybody about anything besides like that isn't like directly pain related. Like if you're so upset that you're going to talk to someone about it, that's probably really bad. Right? So if you think about it, there's almost certainly milder forms of everything out there. I mean, that's just kind of how that would work. And like if you, I don't know about Munchausen's, but like there's probably positive versions of a lot of them too. Like, because you can have something significantly impact your life in a positive way. I mean, not depression, obviously, but I don't know. It's just psychology has a negative bent because, if you have something weird going on in your life or something interesting going on in your life that's like good and you're enjoying it, you're not going to go see a doctor about it. What up, Judy? How you doing? Just going to play with my little toy here for a sec. Think it's warped into a different attention-seeking by a social media phenomenon, especially these mothers putting their trans kids all over TikTok, although I've seen some dads too. Oh, yeah. Men are not, okay. And it's like, it really, and that's where you have to sort of go back to, like, what is the goal of a behavior, right? I think that's a really important psychological metric. What is somebody trying to get by doing whatever the weird shit they're doing? Because it takes away a lot of the confusion between one sort of manipulation tactic that might look very different from another manipulation tactic, but the goal is the same. You're using that person to get yourself attention. And that's not a man thing. That's not a woman thing. That can take a lot of different forms, right? Using someone else's notoriety for your own benefit has a lot of different permutations, right? And I really, really hate people making content out of with their right. And like occasionally you will see, mine come through here, but yeah, I decided a long time ago that I was not going to use their cuteness for views. That's evil, right? Like using your kids for your own benefit where they get nothing out of it. That's evil, right? Yeah. And if I spent the money on them, I could probably, they have to rationalize it somehow. Or actually, that's a good example of something that I think, like, there's a lot of people out there that are just kind of sociopathic and, like, don't really quite get empathy. That doesn't make them evil or dangerous necessarily, but sometimes you just look at the way a person behaves and you're like, there's a massive failure of empathy. What the fuck? Like, talking to a camera about parenthood is different, but, like, actually showing your parenting stuff. No, you're right. If I were the kid, I feel like that would screw with my right. How does it not? Like, I wouldn't know if they were just acting a certain way towards me for the right. Which, like, as if you do, I think a lot of us have this realization at some point when you are grown up and you look at your parents and realize you never really knew them when you were a kid. That's what you want, ideally, is that your parents are going to keep certain parts of them from you while they are not appropriate, because, adults do things and have thoughts and whatever that are not appropriate for children. Britney Spears' father is a case study of male Munchausen. Remember, she was 16 when she got... And it looks different and it feels different when it's a man, I think. Even when it's their dad instead of their mom, I think it does. It has a different flavor to it, but it's the same shit. What is the goal? And obviously his goal was not protecting his daughter, was it? I know she has a book out. I haven't really looked into it yet because it's gonna upset me, isn't it? Yeah, I know that. At this point, I sort of feel like she and I are cosmic sisters in a way because we grew up together. We're about the same age. I think she might be a little bit younger than me, actually. Just a little bit. Listen to her audiobook. Did she read it herself? That's awesome. Where are you going, bitch? That's right. Nowhere. Michelle Williams voiced it. Oh, I know that name. Oh. Isn't she famous for singing? Like, she's an actress who sings. Popular culture takes up a lot of brain space that I just haven't had for like a while. She takes the piss out of Justin Timberlake doing a black accent. Dude. That's really funny for a couple of reasons. Aside from the fact that he is white as hell, he's actually a pretty good actor. Like, in my opinion, he needs to stay the fuck out of music and just go act. He's impressed me a couple of different times. Shrek was not one of them. But, like, like, I'm a Christina Ricci person, so I saw Black Snake Moan, and I literally forgot I was looking at him. He treated her very badly. Yeah. Yeah. But see, again, I already knew that. We already knew that, right? He coerced her to have an abortion. See, that I had heard. That's the one thing I think that's come out of that book that I had already heard. Which just brings me back to the, like, not only did I not want to know that, because it's none of my goddamn business, in my opinion. Like, she wants to put it out there, fine. That doesn't mean I have to read it, right? The parasocial relationship can go both ways. But, like, that is what has trickled through to me. Pisses me off, too. All about him? Oh, yeah, of course. The liberal core of let people be and live your own life now has morphed into other people's choices have to be affirmed, respected, and glorified. Being gaslit is bad. Doing it to yourself is nuts. It's called self-hypnosis. We do it all the time. We all do it. Get yourself out of bed on a day when you don't wanna. There, you just hypnotize yourself to get out of bed. Congratulations. Now apply that to other stuff. You know, it's the active bit where you decide that, yeah, I want that idea. He was good in Alpha Dog, but basically played himself a total asshole. That's not hypnosis. Oh, okay. Convincing someone, even yourself, to do something that they genuinely don't want to do. Okay. Ugh. That's my take on it, anyway. Woo! Oh, this is great. This is just great. I love this, you guys. Ah. Hypnosis is when the person loses the ability for voluntary action. No, it's not. Because that's not possible. That's the bit that's a myth. People do not want to accept the idea that they actually decided they wanted to do those terrible things. But that's why that's not a defense that's admissible in court. Because that's not actually possible. You have free will. They just hijacked it, asshole. Like, sorry, you're not the asshole. I'm just saying, like, I've seen some really strange cases where people did awful things. Okay. And tried to say that they were brainwashed. Though I am, but it's okay. You're not the asshole to whom I was referring just then. I've never been able to be hypnotized, and I've tried. I'm immune, apparently. Right, no, because you have to actually decide that you want to be hypnotized. That's what I'm saying. And that's why some people are more susceptible to it than others, because some people are more, what you want to call it, impressionable than other people. Some people are more stubborn than others. Some people are more kind of go along, get along than others. But it's all voluntary. That's why you can't use brainwashing as a defense in court. You can't say they hypnotized me and made me do it. No. They made you want to do it. They didn't make you do it. They made you want to do it. But you still did it. See. That's why that doesn't hold up. That's why that's not a legal defense anywhere that I know of. Like big plans. You and Red Blair and ought to hang out sometime. It's gonna be a fun party when we all get to hang out. You guys are gonna be like at your own table. I think it's great. And not in a we don't want to sit with you kind of way. You can't sit with us. Oh my gosh. What was it? There was something that was just seriously giving me vibes. It was like a grown ass woman talking about something serious, and I just could not. This is a few wild, I don't know, thoughts. But yeah, the fact that the thing about Britney's coerced abortion is the one thing I had already heard. What does that say about this cultural pipeline that we're all in? What does that say? I love the fall leaves around you so pretty. I miss seasons. Oh, because you live in the tropics, right? You want to come rake these for me? No, you don't. No, you don't. Like, every place has its pros and cons, doesn't it? That Spears was property. Yeah, yeah. No, that's and I'm actually really glad of a couple of different things here. Just to was owned by her record company. Yeah, yeah. There's a word for that. It starts with an S and ends with lavery. Uh, her family must have been poor. A white girl. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was terrible. I should have kept that thought to myself. Her book had very funny parts, but it is a very sad story. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad about two things. Number one, that this shit is coming out and we can actually see, we all watched all this shit happen. And there's been chatter in the ether for ages about this, including the abortion, right? I want to say I heard about that around that time that it happened. How in the fuck that's possible? Gossip rags, I guess. But like, that's been a rumor for a long time, right? I'm glad that we're getting to see it from the other side. So we can kind of put the story together because it sounds like it needs to be told. It sounds like this is something that might be emblematic. She got the super uber ultra condensed version of what everyone else is living in, right? Timberlake has blacked out all his socials. You idiot. You might as well just come out and say, I admit it all. Oh my God. Oh my God, right? I mean, right? Like, the liberation of musicians with the ability to self-publish their music has hopefully put to bed the days where the record companies can turn talent into slaves and satin sheets. Not if they have anything to say about it. They're just finding other ways to do that. Haha, he's a coward. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing about this that I'm glad about is she's still alive. Which I hate to say that. That sounds dark as fuck. But how many times has this these stories come out after the person has died? And there is no vindication for them because they're dead. So she actually is going to get to enjoy, having this shit out there on her own terms and whatever. I mean, that's great. Like Chance the Rapper, he's quite big, but I don't think he's signed to a label, is he? AI is going to make it all moot. Oh my God. I'm not sure exactly what you mean that, but like, I don't even understand why computers need to talk necessarily. So, I'll tell you what's going to happen with all that AI stuff is I'm not going to participate in any of it. Mainly because I'm not going to have the time or the extra money. But like, I don't want to participate in any of that if I can help it. Like, that just seems. She clearly has CPTSD and apparently ADHD, and she was abusing for prescription Ritalin. That's not a good idea. But, like, yeah, I mean, of course she has CPTSD. Like I say, it seems like she got, like, the most condensed version of the shit that's out there, right? That women might go through. She just got all of it. A lot of the UK rappers are self-published, and they're better off. You know, I got out of that game actually a long time ago. I went to a tech musical school almost 20 years ago now. AI has already written and released songs by bands that end up on Billboard charts, much to the surprise of actual bands. It's been removed, but still. Yeah, I mean, and that's just like, as human beings, do we have no say in this? Can't we just say, nah, let's not? You know, it reminds me of what I was saying earlier about how sometimes when you read history, you're like, oh, so that's how we as a species learn that little lesson, right? Which is extra scary. I saw an advert for an AI that will take a clip art you give it and edit it into a short form video. Yeah, that's weird. Like, I mean, is it too much that maybe we as a species could just say, let's just not? You know, like, yeah, we could do that, but AI scares you. Really, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think a lot of people have that reaction. It itself does not really scare me. What people might use it for scares me. But yeah, I get that. I get that. And I think a lot of people respond that way. So then it becomes difficult to have, forgive me, a rational conversation about it then if someone is terrified, right? Just like on a gut level, it becomes really difficult for us all to kind of agree on anything. It's human beings taking advantage, not the AI per se, but it needs to be legislated better. They're working on it for these very reasons. Good. Brings out the inner Sarah Connor, right? See, that's the other thing that's weird to me is we've all been raised with this idea in the popular culture that the day the AI comes is the end of the world. Okay? So the idea that this just absolutely fucking gut level terrifies some people makes a lot of sense. Aside from the uncanny valley aspect of it. I already despise these people doing the worm in the dairy aisle because of some dumb TikTok trend. Imagine if they don't have to spend all the time editing. Well, you know, I have this. It almost is like there's going to become like two. I mean, okay, if the online stuff becomes so absorbing that if you really want to participate in it fully, you literally don't have time for anything else, then we're going to become a split society because there are going to be some people who are just going to not do that. I'm already so far on that side that, like, if TikToks become mandatory, I'm just not. I'm just going to step back. I'm sorry. I don't have time. Like, but, like, yeah, I know who Sarah Connor is. Hello. That's one of, like, 3 movies that came out when I was a kid where the protagonist had the same name as me. It's like, what the fuck is the deal with that? Like, it's that one, Labyrinth, and The Craft. There's a trifecta for you, huh? Love Sarah Connor. Like, yeah. Like, yeah. Oh my God. Especially in the second one. So badass, right? Like, Not complaining. Did you hear that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to play a time traveling composer? It's called I'm Bach. I can't believe you made me say that out loud. Oh, it's so terrible. Oh my god. That is my husband, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy. I noticed short form content affecting how my friend talks. So I'm no longer going to let myself watch it. Holy shit, how? Can you describe that a little bit for us? Like, that's nutty. I noticed that shit just kind of drives me bonkers. I noticed that years ago when Vines would, like, Vine compilations would be on the TV. And I'd be in the next room in the kitchen trying to make food. And it would be like 10 seconds of this song, followed by 10 seconds of that song, followed by 10 seconds of a song I don't know, followed by 10 seconds of a song I like, followed by 10 seconds of a song I can't fucking stand. And I had to make them turn it off. We were just speaking about how Sarah Connor was set up to be the good guy. Right, we were just talking about Terminator this morning. Yeah, we were. But like, doggone it, where was I? Oh yeah, short form. Like, speaking of things that happened this morning, he opened his phone to screaming. Like, ah! Like full on banshee screaming. I don't know if you'd left the shorts open or whatever when you turned it off, but like nowadays he's much more like, yeah, get to the point. Ah, I see. Huh. No, it was Reddit. Okay. But still, like, Reddit's changed. I don't know. I didn't used to go to Reddit to watch videos. Am I crazy? That didn't used to be the thing you went to Reddit for. I don't know. Like, there was, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember which one it was. There was a creator a couple of years ago who really spooked me because you like are funny. Yeah. I'm not trying to diss on Reddit. Not really. I'm just being a crank. You know it. No, but she used to make YouTube videos. I want to say I don't remember who this is because I haven't seen her for a while. And I have a feeling I know where she is. Because the last video of hers that I watched was literally like a 45-minute dissection of TikTok addiction and how nefarious and weird it is. And then at the end of the video was a question about, so what do you think? Should I start making TikToks? And I'm like, what the fuck? No, I don't think you should start doing that. I think you need to get away from that. Oh my God. And like, but like, maybe people don't understand what this word means. Like, I'll see ads for like the most addicting video game ever. I'm like, thanks for the warning. I'm still not gonna play it. What the fuck? That's not a good thing. But we all know that these apps are designed to do that. That psychological addiction is a thing, and these apps are designed to elicit it from you, which that should be illegal. You want to talk about regulating stuff? Fuck AI. Can we regulate the goddamn programmers? The human beings? Can we regulate the human beings and their behavior? The ones that we might punish if they break the rules and might give a shit. It seems like all social media platforms are trying to make it possible to host short form videos if they can. Right, because they're so palatable. And putting my tinfoil hat on, I refuse. You know what? I've been wearing my tinfoil hat on that one for a few years now, I guess is what I'm saying. I will not watch the TikToks. I will not eat the bugs. Right? And then on the other hand, you got people complaining about the state of filmmaking. It's like, well, yeah. Which kind of brings me back to what I was saying a few weeks ago about modern myth making, right? We only have one fucking story. I had the weirdest experience on a boat ferry. Every single person looking at their phone was like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Why were they on the boat? Yeah. Yeah, we have a little one in our house. So like everyone has a phone but him cuz he's fucking 6. Okay? And that I've had to check. I hate to brag, but not me so much. I just never got into it like that. I just never did that to myself. I haven't had to break the habits because I just never really built them. You know what I mean? It's why I gave up mobile games. Mobile games use the same similar algorithm that casinos use to keep people in their seats. All the reward notifications, pop ups, push notifications. It's right. They do it on purpose. This is all very targeted, very, God damn it, words. Voluntary on their part, purposeful. Getting from island to island here about fair. Oh, I see. Okay. So it's not as if they were tourists who were there for the view, but still. Uh yeah, but so I've had to remind, but so I'm not bragging. I'm just a Luddite, okay? I've had to remind everyone else in the house. Cuz I'll walk through the room and there'll be a little guy and 2 or 3 other people around him, each on their own phone, and he's just kind of like, "What?" And he wants one desperately, of course. And it's just you see, no, 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 200%. Why are people complaining about films being written badly? Even you are you even capable of watching a film, Caden? No, to be fair, I think it's more people in their 30s and 40s complaining about the state of film and going, oh my God, we thought the 90s sucked. Like, does anyone here remember that? Does anyone here remember, like, here's that band again, mystery band, the one that the algorithm pulled that shit out of my head the other day. Travis has a song called Tied to the 90s. Like, I got lucky in the mobile game I play. It's a language learning one, but it is hella addictive, right? They're designed to be that way, and we know this. And yet, the number go up and there's colors, and I like it. I have no social media except YouTube. It's all just voyeurism for the sad and lonely, in my opinion. Right, but it's self-perpetuating loneliness, right? And it's like you feel like if you walk away from it, all of a sudden you are lonesome and you don't want to face that. I don't know. I like, and I'm one of these people. I spent a large portion of my childhood learning to focus on something. That's how I passed school, right? That's how I got anything done as a kid. I had to learn to like sort of bat the little thoughts away, the little nattering like, ooh, I could be doing this right now. Ooh, what about that movie I saw? Ooh, what about that story I was working on? No, 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 no. Go away. I have to focus on what I don't want to do. I have to focus on my math homework or whatever, right? So there's like this instinctive just reflex when something comes at me like that. I'm like, no, no, go away. I'm focusing on something. And that's it triggers that. I'm on Facebook, but only for discussion groups and group chat. I don't use the rest. Right, yeah. Like I've long ago stopped understanding what exactly that was supposed to be for anyway. Like I don't need to get my political opinions from my relatives. Thank you very much. Been there, done that. Ugh. One of the reasons I enjoy older movies is that they deal with the same issues and themes that we still have today. Most modern movies are exploring the same thing, but with CGI, nudity, and gore. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And it's like, ooh, dialogue, ooh, people talking to one another. It's like we're also people and might enjoy watching that. Yeah, and I think the older movies had to rely more on good dialogue and characters to do that, and that sticks with you, whereas a super photorealistic CGI lake is just not that memorable. Right. Yeah. It's almost as if the material world in which we all exist is important to us. And our experience of things. We want to talk about themes. If all our modern media is adding is shock value, then we're not adding to the culture. We're moving backwards. Right, because entropy. Yeah. is a thing. All I watched for about 8 years was TCM. Nice. Walking outside must be terrifying for you. And this is what I mean when I say that I don't think we should throw all the past away. I am not a Luddite in the way that I think all progress is bad, all change is bad. No, 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 no. As a woman, how the fuck can you say that? Right? And have any real credibility? No, change can be very good. And there are definitely certain elements about our current culture that we want to keep, right? We can't even have a conversation, though, can we? We can't even have. Oh, gotta go. Mwah, love you. We can't even have a conversation about what maybe from the past we might want to pull forwards with us because, I think of it as the racist Hydra. Okay, like, which for some reason keeps coming back to Atlantis. I don't know why that is, but that is a tell for some reason. But like, this idea I mentioned earlier about how all realized that I love you was probably too rad, Mom. You can have a little bit. It's all right. We have a little. We have plenty. Um. But yeah, doggone it, that was really funny, and now you've distracted me. Right? Yeah, we can't have this conversation because it's like false dichotomies all over everywhere, false choices all over everywhere. One of them is the past or the future. You have to be oriented towards one or the other. One last Luddite anti-TikTok rant thing. I was just watching this YouTube video in Spanish by a Colombian woman, and sometimes she'd say phrases in English, but there was something weird about her accent. And then I realized she was doing the TikTok voice whenever she spoke English. Like the exact intonation. Absolutely terrifying. I don't know what the TikTok voice... Oh, maybe I do. That weird kind of female computer voice that I keep hearing everywhere. Is that what we're talking about? Because at this point, there's stuff like that like, I mean, I understand when it's like, I have teenagers, they're 15 and I'm 35. So like, yeah, there's going to be cultural shit that happens that they think is super important that I don't know anything about. Like, fair enough, right? Rear Window. What's a nice surprise for me is the whole movie is set in one room with a view to outside. Oh! Hitchcock. Right? Okay. For some reason, I went to something different with that. I went somewhere else with that. I don't know. No, Hitchcock. Right, yeah, it was a really good movie, and shit. They remade one of my favorite movies a while back, and I've never seen the remake of it because, well, okay. One of my favorite movies is Sleuth. Like Detective Sleuth. The old one with Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine. Yes, that voice. Okay. If I met someone speaking like that in real life, I'd full on run. Yeah. That's bonkers. That's obviously where she learned to speak English. Not that there's not enough, any available alternatives for her to like listen to, though. It's really the isolation of it that seems weird. Anyways, yes, Sleuth. Great film, right? Started as a stage play. This is a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it. There's only 2 dudes in the whole movie. Only 2 dudes in the whole movie. And ostensibly, the whole movie takes place in one big room. Yeah. Like, it's a big room, but yeah. And when it was a stage play, that was the set. That was it. In the film, they take some liberties. They do some outside shots and some stuff in the basement and whatever. But like, yeah, in the play, it was just one set. And I haven't seen the remake because at one point I was staying with my parents and I walked through the room and my stepdad has something on the TV. And I go, hey, what's the... And I stand there and I look at it for a minute, trying to figure out what it is. because I recognized the actors. It was Michael Caine and Jude Law, I believe it was. And I go, oh, what's this? He goes, Sleuth. I've been watching this for a good couple of minutes, and I did not recognize this. Like the dialogue at all. I'm like, it is, huh? Well, that's not interesting. I guess I don't have to worry about taking in that one. What the fuck? Oh. And it's just weird how obvious things have become in a lot of ways. Like the dearth of stories is so obvious that everyone is complaining about it. Everyone. Even people who traditionally would not give a shit. Or would deny that such a thing is even possible, like film critics. You know? You know, when people are having to go and mine their own personal lives for stories. It's like, well, yeah. We can't just retell the epic classics over and over again forever. They discovered that in like the 18th century. Anyone seen an amazing modern movie made in the last year or two they'd recommend? I want to say I have. But it might have just been a movie that was new to me. I don't think that counts. That's not what you're asking for. Vesper. It wasn't like amazing, but it was interesting. Like I'm sure that there are independent films out there being made that are truly good. Okay. And that was part of the reason, that's the consensus a lot of people have come to, is why the 90s was such a great time for film that nobody really appreciated at the time, was because the mid-budget film. I think it used CGI to good effect. Right. Like, in CGI can be used to good effect. It's called Jurassic fucking Park. Like, dinosaurs are not real. Hello. Right. And you've never heard of it. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure that there are plenty of independent filmmakers that are, out there still making really, really good movies. But we're not seeing them. They're not being promoted by the mainstream, which is very cordoned off, which is, likes to play like it is this big wide open field, but it isn't, is it? And this is just yet another demonstration of that. I know that there are people out there making great films. They're not going to be in the theater by my house, so are they? Okay, because they don't put money into mid-budget films anymore. Because apparently they do not take their role as cultural stewards seriously in any way at all. Which, like, yeah, you got to make $1, but come on over here. At this point, films have been around long enough. We understand how the impact that they can have over time on a culture. Okay? Let's not sit back and pretend that we don't know what we're doing. Let's not sit back and pretend that this isn't some kind of modern myth making. Let's not sit back and pretend that this shit isn't going to have been ingrained in the minds of people who 30 years from now will be the adults. Let's not pretend that's not what we're doing. And that's why I'm not a capitalist. That's why capitalism pisses me the fuck off, because capitalism is for capital. It doesn't give a fuck about people. And you want to talk about self-hypnosis? My God, people are literally doing things in service of capital that they feel like they're serving themselves because they go and get that capital. But that's not edifying to you. Some of y'all might enjoy that series. It's very woman-centered. Yeah, because I don't let myself watch English movies, TV. I don't see much Hollywood stuff, and I come across some really creative hidden gems. Like, Can You Hear Me? M'intends to, from Canada. M'entends to. That's French. It'd be M'entends to, from Canada. Some of y'all might enjoy that series. It's very woman-centered. Right on. Right on. Yeah. You want to talk about convincing yourself to do something that's against your own interests. Like, yeah, let's devote our entire lives to working for capital. The thing that is destroying the world. I'm sorry, that's brainwashing. That's fucking stupid. If I'm looking for highbrow movies, my go-to is Happy Madison Productions, and Adam Sandler never lets you down. I don't know, man. I saw 8 Crazy Nights in the movie theater. That thing where the dude goes over and over down the hill in the. I'm not saying it's not funny, but shit. Then now there's a guy who's had the opportunity to grow up, though, for sure. You look at Happy Gilmore as compared to, like, I don't know if his production company was involved in Meyerowitz, but I watched that and that was like heavy. You know, I was like, oh my god, Adam Sandler's like growing the fuck up. Like, good for you, dude. Like, as an actor, you know, good for you. Good for you. You know, I mean that. Like, if you almost got to be happy for somebody when you get you and you know they earned that shit, right? Like, he has got to have paid his dues. It's only been 30 years. You ever see those people who sound like they fully internalized capitalist rhetoric and think they suck because of it? Yeah. Yeah. Those folks who were like, I don't produce value for the market, therefore I'm less worthy as a person. Yeah. Have you ever met somebody who believes that unconsciously and has a tendency to say stuff assuming that? You know, but maybe unconsciously, but maybe intellectually understands that that's nonsense, but like they've actually. Yeah, I run into this more than once, actually. You want to talk about, like, we have internalized misogyny, right? This is like internalized capitalism. Is this I don't know. Basically, whatever reason you might have to subconsciously hate yourself, lacking, you know, in material value, essentially, to the world. Because that's a real thing. One can actually be a leech on the world. That's a thing. That might be something people might fear, right? Nobody wants to be a leech. Nobody wants to be a burden, right? That's a real thing. Not in my neck of the woods. We'd put them in an asylum if they said that. Well, you live in the tropics, so yeah. I wager it's at least gauche to say stuff like that in paradise, right? Up here where we get winter, sometimes people are given pause to reflect on that. Yeah, no, but I think there are actually more people out there than we might reckon who have kind of unconsciously internalized this idea, or like I say, it plays on something that is a genuine fear for a lot of people, which is being a burden on the ones that they love, right? And it kind of builds on that. And I love playing with storytelling as far as like the frame, the things which in the story go unstated but are assumed to be true, right? So you can sort of send messages through what happens and what the characters say and what they don't do and say, right? And then if you start to look at the way real people behave in this way, you start to see the empty spots, right? That they move around even though there's not anything supposed to be there. Oh my god, yeah, it's when they just assume everyone thinks that way. That's terrifying. Right. But I mean, that's called a paradigm. There are some things in life we have to be able to take for granted in order to function that you just cannot have to get up every day and re-figure out, right? A lot of basic general stuff about how the world works. Like, yeah, we have to just kind of assume that sort of thing. And part of assuming that is assuming that other people also assume that. You have to know this. It's assumed, right? Like, duh. Yeah. And it can be really difficult sometimes to step back from something like that and go, so you don't know this thing that I thought everybody knew. You don't know the sun rises in the east? Well, crap. You know what I'm saying? It feels like that level. Oh, bye. Bye, Susie. See you later. What time is it? It is 1:18. I may have to take a little potty break. I'm sorry to say that, but I've been drinking too much coffee today, apparently. And sometimes people reveal a lot about their own internalized assumptions by the way they behave, right? And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about how, yeah, there are some people out there, going back to like Munchausen's and like we were talking about it at the beginning. Problem with the anti-capitalist scene on YouTube is the likes of Hassan Piker, who earns millions, keeps it all for himself, and calls others capitalist dogs. Yeah. The trouble with anything like that is that, it's incendiary, so it gets views, so it makes money. And, that might be another example of what I was about to say, along with Munchausen by proxy, whereas, like, there's a lot of rationalizations you could come up with to use another person or an ideology, which if you don't believe that shit and you're saying it because you like the attention that it gets you, then that's kind of a similar thing. It's only better because the thing you're using for attention is not a person. It's a similar thing, though, I would argue. There's just a decent amount of people out there who just don't seem to have like a fully functioning conscience. They just don't seem to like understand the social contract or what exactly it is that we're all supposed to be doing here together. You know, like in their heart, like they don't quite get it, and like it shows in their behavior. And I don't know if that's something that's just not fully formed inside them or something that was broken along the way or something that might hypothetically be fixed. I think we might have to take that on a case by case basis. But yeah, I just said, look at some things. Hassan Piker, like the being a hypocrite, a straightforward hypocrite is a failure of empathy a lot of the time. Because if you could see yourself from the outside and, maybe see this whole situation from another person's perspective in any fucking way, you wouldn't be acting like such an idiot. And you might actually give a fuck. And see, it's easily to say, well, they don't understand because they can't. Like, maybe they do intellectually understand. They just, they don't get it. Like intellectually they might understand, but like internally, emotionally, like they don't get it. Because, human beings have like two pieces, a mind and a heart, to get metaphorical for just a second. And I guess you could say, and when you look at it like that, some people's minds just don't quite work right. They have perhaps an intelligence deficit, or perhaps they have some sort of a mental illness where there's just a destructive quirk in there. I think your heart can be similar. I think there are people out there whose hearts just don't fucking work right. And I don't mean the pumping muscle. I mean, their emotional center doesn't work right. And this is a metaphor, obviously, because it would all be in the brain. And like, you can look at brain scans of people who are sociopaths and spot them. That doesn't mean they're bad people, even. But it is a thing. Like, But again, we can't have these conversations because everything has to be black and white. Everything has to be either or. So a lot of times when I bring this up, I have had people jump to the conclusion that I am suggesting we need to round them up or something. I'm like, no. God damn it. That's not, no. No. When I talk about history starting in 1946, everybody is so incredibly like, is it because modern media basically started then? Was invented to cover World War II? Is that what it is? Because in a lot of ways, we are still stuck there. Like we're still mulling over and relitigating the symbolism and the cultural impact of the Second World War 80 years later. Girl in the video trying to be like, and that this stuff is relevant to us, right? Yeah. Oh, it's definitely. The thing about history is if one of the key things, tell you it might not be relevant if it doesn't make any sense. And I don't mean in a wash, why do they do that kind of a way, but like, in the way that like ancient Greek history just kind of doesn't make sense, where like all the cultural context is lost. I'm dropping people like flies. It's just me and I think philological and big plans, I guess. I don't know. It's just us. This is like, you guys are going to abandon me too. I don't know. I have to go to the bathroom. So here in a second, I'm going to get up and walk away, but I will be right back. I promise. And I'm starting to feel like I'm talking to myself, and then I'm just kind of going in circles. You know how it is when you talk to yourself, right? Ugh. All right. I will be back in just 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Mm. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Here I come. Here I come. The dress is sticking in my leggings. Oh, what up, guys? I'm studying. You're grand. I will still be here when you get back. Sweet. That's great. We got a couple extra people stop by while I was gone. You guys enjoying the view of my yard? Am I in the way? Oh, oh my gosh. My mind is wandering back to the book, of course, because I have to get my outline copied over, and then figure out what I'm going to do after that. Oh yeah, layout scenes. Okay, so that's what I. And then I have to go and try and pick the elements that I want to keep from what I did right, and try and sort of, do one of this, because I realized, oh God, like the more that it started percolating after I had, I knew how it ended, so I wrote the ending. Like I say, I was really gunning for that finish line, and then after I let it sit and let it percolate a little bit, like I knew I had a problem because somehow the third book ended up twice as long as either of the other two. And like, okay, your third installment can be a little longer because we're wrapping stuff up. Okay, fine, but not twice as long as the other two, right? That's probably a problem. So, uh, yeah, I knew I had a problem anyway. And I'm going back and I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, let's see. this didn't go anywhere, and this is actually that, so I can just combine those two. And oh my god, I have to rewrite the entire book. Oh my god. Oh my god. There are whole scenes that the way it is now, these two characters don't actually interact with one another. Ah, it's funny stuff too. I'm sad. I just unfortunately one character is going to make their exit right, oh my god, and it's a thing too. Oh my god, it's a thing. Okay, so we have our protagonist, right? And she has a friend, well, uh her love interest, for lack of a better word. He's there for, well, he's only there for like the first half of the book. I don't want to give anything away, but so then after and it's right then that her brother decides to get married, because he's been like off, adventuring, doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. And he brings this woman home, who decides that it's her house. And you can just imagine, like, already being like maybe not in the best headspace, because stuff that's happened, like recently happened, and then newlyweds. So like it's a thing, it's a whole thing. So those two characters don't actually interact at all. So I'm just gonna have to pull all that apart and throw away some of that, and that's sad. Hey Bill, did you use the word grand before you moved to the Emerald Isle? It's surprising how much you end up using it throughout the day. Oh. Love it, love it, love it. I think, is that not a thing English people say? It's just so useful. It is. Oh no, not at all. I've picked it up. I love little shit like that. But like, man, you want to talk about having learned through some of this stuff through television. I know that when other people have learned American culture through television, that's dicey, right? So I can only assume having learned British culture through television is similarly dicey, right? So, which makes me sad. But you guys aren't going anywhere, right? I can still come visit one of these days, right? Oh, I can ask you about quite. Oh my goodness. Is quite a positive or a negative modifier? I've kind of lost my accent as well. People think I sound Dutch or Canadian. I hear this really weird. There was a guy I was listening to do something the other day, and it took me a good solid minute to figure out if he was British Columbian or Irish. Like, there's apparently a certain, some accent from British Columbia, because there's a guy I know, he's Canadian, who I listen to, who sounded so much like that. It was the hard R's that really gave him away. But otherwise, they were like doppelgangers for the accent. I was like, what the fuck is this? That's crazy. Grand and sound are in constant use. Right. See, but quite. Okay. So, like, if you would say, that was quite a good film, does that mean it was a very good film or a sort of good film? You know what I'm saying? Like, which one is that? It's one of those things where the assumptions built into British TV is a good indicator. Well, right. No, yeah. But at the same time, I don't want to sit here and act like I know shit when maybe I don't know shit. Like, especially when it comes to the dialect and the way that words are used. Like, a lot of the stuff I watched, I mean, shit. A couple of my favorite shows are from the 70s. Okay, that was 50 years ago. The idea that maybe actual modern current English spoken in England is not exactly that. Well, that would just stand to reason, wouldn't it? You know nothing, Jon Snow. The cultural examples. Yeah, right. It's a neutral modifier, but I think slightly more often used in a positive way than negative. Okay. What say you, Big Plans, Little Drive? Yeah. Okay. Because, oh my God, I saw this linguist guy literally try and make this black and white that Americans use it as a positive modifier and British people use it as a negative modifier. And I instantly thought of half a dozen examples of that's not being true. And it's been driving me crazy. That obviously if somebody's like, isn't it amazing? And you're like, quite. You don't mean that in a nice way, right? Like, duh. Like that word does kind of have two meanings. And obviously the English are masters of sarcasm. But like the idea that it's black and white on either side of the Atlantic like that just driving me nuts. That was quite a good film. Means a sort of good film. It means it was better than average, but not necessarily life changing. So yeah, that would be a negative modifier. Because you wouldn't just say that was a good film. Right. And so, as opposed to supposedly the American usage would mean that was quite a good film. I mean, that was a pretty damn good movie. That's what that would mean. Um, or like the phrase quite full. You know, it was quite full. Does that mean it was just barely full? Or does that mean it was like overfilled a little bit? Like, these are just little things that just is bothering the shit out of me. Oh, tangentially related, I had to tell my Chinese friend never to describe gay romance as boy love to an English speaker because it has some very dark implication. Ooh. Yeah. Uh, subtext, right? Yeah. And that's the kind of thing I mean. Where, like, even when you speak a language natively, the context, the subtext can be different. And that's kind of, wait, hold on with the quite. Okay, see, this is the kind of nerdy thing that's just been bothering the hell out of me. Please. What is it? What do you got? I have wind. Yes, sometimes it's used in the way you described. Like, yes, quite, especially if it's a sarcastic tone that implies the person disagrees, but doesn't think it's worth an argument. Right. But so you say somebody, that basket is quite full. Does that mean it's extraordinarily full, like kind of overflowing, or does that mean it's like barely full? Quite full would mean packed but not overcrowded. Right. So then it's a positive modifier. See, in that isn't that weird? Thank you for backing me up. I feel so much better for some reason. That you, as a non-American, understand what I mean. Okay, yeah. See, I thought we spoke the same language. I did. Now, on the other hand, you could say something is not quite full, which would mean almost, right? Thank you so much for indulging my nerdy little word thing. This is making me feel so much better. Mm. And like a lot of these examples that it instantly popped into my head when I heard this were from that show Are You Being Served, which is about as British as you get and 50 years old. So I'm like, this is not a modern what on earth? It was just one of those things where I'm like, am I losing my mind here? Like, quite. In ordinary usage is like a moderate intensifier. Okay. Okay. So basically what you're telling me is this guy was full of shit. Because I had a feeling. Because like he was a middle-aged British dude saying this. So I wanted to believe him really badly. But at the same time, I'm sitting here going like, you can say whatever you want. I can come up with so many real-world examples of this just not seeming to be the case. And the idea that there is some American subtlety to the English language that the British just don't get. That seems like a weird idea to me. Oh, hey, I'm just putting this out there. I'm not asking for money, but my web developer will be upset with me if I don't mention we have super chats now, by the way. So you can send me money if you want. I don't know where it will go or what will happen with that, but like we are trying to monetize this at some point so that I can help support myself and my family and all that. And like you guys, I'm working at our church. The struggle is real. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it is, but that's not why. No, we just live in kind of a small town, and where the fuck do you go to meet anybody who isn't drunk? Quite real. Sounds like he was full of it, or maybe it's a generational thing. See, this was an older fellow saying that, and a linguist. Okay, that's what he does. Is he gets up there and points out funny little accent things or funny little linguistic things for like non-English like learners. Okay. And I'm just a nerd, so I occasionally like to listen to these things because they're interesting. So if it is a generational thing, it would be the generation before us. Which, again, you'd think I'd have encountered this. So I think maybe he was oversimplifying. Maybe for learners, now I've said it. But I couldn't confirm or deny this because I'm not English and I don't have any English people to ask, but I do. Thank you so much. Really, really, thank you. You made my week. I feel so much better. It's embarrassing how much better I feel having confirmed that is bunk. Thank you. I'm probably going to buy a shirt once I have my first proper job. Oh, awesome. Thank you. We have a whole merch store set up now in the YouTube. Like, it'll automatically generate mugs and keychains and shirts and all kinds of stuff, which is amazing. I mean, you want to talk about an application for AI, there you go, right? Automatically generating the same design on a bunch of different stuff. Yeah, please, you can do that all day long. That seems like a great application for computer brains. It's essentially math in picture form. I need to come up with more designs. Oh my gosh. Should we take submissions? That might be fun, huh? Anybody out there has an artistic bent. I feel like only 10 or so people actually read the community posts, though. Based on the feedback that I get. So, yeah, I want more designs and, really, I mean, the book is my passion project, right? There's a whole lot of stuff wrapped up in that. There's a whole lot of symbolism and, there's a whole lot of symbolism wrapped up in that could easily be spun up into various designs for various kinds of merch. But I don't have that yet. So right now we're kind of sitting on the Rad Mom thing. We're talking about next year, kind of roping the blog into all this. You guys remember the blog? Remember I used to do that? Like, because I have a ton of material over there that's just kind of sitting. And isn't actually connected to any of this in any real way. And we're talking about fixing that this coming year. But really, like, I'm glad you enjoy the Rad Mom thing. Missions, submissions, like, request like submissions for artwork, for like designs to put on stuff, because like I say, a lot of the stuff is actually wrapped up in the book, which isn't out yet, so that's difficult. But I want to have something like, not everybody's a mom and not everybody wants to go around wearing a shirt that says that they are. And like that's fair. And like I saw that coming. But so I don't really, aside from just like the name of the channel, I don't really have a whole lot of commissions, right? But like submissions, like ideas, to like enlisted ideas from you guys for designs and stuff. And still brazen sheet. Yeah, right. Exactly. In 2024, I'm going to give language learning a break and focus on learning to draw. I could try drawing some fan art designs as practice if you like. Sure, that sounds like great. Yeah, that sounds like a win-win. I love those. And yeah, I guess this winter I'm looking at getting back into the book a bit more deeply, which doesn't affect this, because this is essentially like it's all one thing, and this is like my public face. Mary could also come up with some great designs. I remember when she was on the stream and she showed her notebook. Yeah, Mary is a great artist. That is true. I know that she uses her art really to express, like, like I would use a journal. So I might hesitate to like commission something from her, just because that would feel like asking her to use something super personal for like my commercial gain. But, it might be worth an ask. I mean, it's not like I would be offended if somebody asked me to write something for them, right? So, maybe I'm overthinking that. My God, so you can have bubble drawings of two people on the gallows. The bubble person pulling the lever on the condemned is feminism, and the bubble person with their rope in the neck and the rope is toxic masculinity. Some design with a cauldron would be cool. Why didn't I think of that? Of course. Oh my goodness. Darling, you and your violent metaphors. How about if we just have like toxic masculinity with the red circle with the line through it? Cauldron would be cool. Like, duh, of course, obviously. I don't know why I didn't think of that one. And there's an interesting amount of overlap symbolically between like motherhood and witchery. When we eat the rich, we will flavor the revolution with toxic masculinity. I don't know. I was gonna make a cannibal joke, but let's not. Let's leave that to Parker and Stone. Like that's been. I could never. I watched Cannibal the musical one time, and like that's been done better than I could ever possibly. Why was that shit so funny? That shouldn't have been so funny. I have pitchforks and torches for sale on my e-store. I wouldn't want that on my food. It would probably taste nasty. Well, it is toxic. It's right on the label. So I subsist on Monster Energy drinks, so maybe I can't complain about nasty tastes. And my cooking. Go on, you want to say it. Go on. I don't know. I mean, really, the idea of eating the rich might almost be seen as like an outgrowth of toxic masculinity. The idea that one part of society needs to eat another. You can't complain about your cooking Stouffer's isn't bad. Oh, damn me with faint praise. Just. If I weren't having so much fun, I might be mad. Oh, Gotta get out of the wind for a second. Zing, right? Mm. Yeah, but to be fair, wine is technically toxic, and that's delicious. So, ooh. The dose makes the poison, eh? Maybe that's why people can't really pinpoint the line between regular masculinity and toxic masculinity. I'm just playing with ideas here. Just juggling ideas around. Every once in a while, you'll have them spark together and really something really fun will happen, right? Some of it. Some wine tastes like lighter fluid. I wouldn't know because I don't drink that kind of wine. Isn't that's gin? I thought like wine is masculinity. Some of Riesling and the other is that nasty stuff. I just sometimes I like to test the truth of an idea by applying it to something different. And you come up with some fun stuff that way, don't you? Oh my goodness. Then after I get off here in a few minutes, what masculinity is port? I want to be that. Oh, I think you got that. Like, sweet, but will fuck you up. Sweet and a little heavy, but will fuck you up. Yep, you got that. You got that. I'm an Echo Falls person. Oh, one of my favorite Latin poets, Luxurius, whose name can be arguably translated as Boner Boy, by the way. Nice. Wrote a whole poem whose message is basically just eat the rich. Little history tidbit. Nice. See, that's what I'm saying. We've been having these same conversations for a very long time. The idea that we have to, I keep using this word, but it's so perfect. The idea that we have to relitigate all of these details every generation is so fucking bonkers. That's stupid. What are we bothering to record anything for? Speaking of doses, right after the stream, I'm going to a trans pub night. Not actually, but I will have a glass or two. Oh. Is it a pub crawl or just a pub night? They do pub crawls over there? It's a weird concept where, like, you go and you drink as much as you can at one place, and then you go to the next place and drink as much as you can there. And you're like, but you already drank. This is how alcohol poisoning happens, right? I really just kind of had to stop drinking overall because in England, they invented the pub crawl. See, that's what I assumed. But then I said it and I thought, wait a minute, no, they invented pubs. But traditionally, as far as I know, you go to the pub and you stay there. Right? Like for the evening. You don't leave and as a group and like go to the next one. I think that might be a frat boy thing. It might be an example of that thing where like Americans take what the British do and do it one more, right? Because we're just that much better than they are. You'd think it was in Ireland, but they can handle their whiskey, so it's just a regular night at the pub. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, their pub culture is different than that, you know? Their pub culture is not frat boy culture necessarily. Not that they don't have, their hooligans and whatever, but there's also that, like, older, established, like, it used to be the town cultural meeting place kind of thing, right? Like, so the idea is you go to the pub for the evening for, like, dinner and, maybe the football game. You don't, as a group, get up and leave and go to the one down the road. Just a pub night. We have a beer garden reserved just for us. No cis people allowed. Ha ha. That's funny. Like, I'm tempted to ask if they do genital checks at the door. But like, really, do you like? How tight is that? Are they trying to clock everybody on their way in, or like how would you enforce that? Because it's the same problem, right? Just inverted. Wait, do y'all not do pub crawls in America or bar crawls? Oh no, we do. I'm trying to figure out if y'all invented them or if we did. Like, is that a football hooligan thing or a frat boy thing? It doesn't really matter. It was one of those moments where I started to talk like I knew what I was talking about, and I realized, wait, no, I don't actually know this. So I tried to phrase it as a question, and I think I did it poorly. Sorry about that. I only got a few more minutes, and then I got to get off here and like go do stuff. You know, I said I would take the little guy to the park because it is a beautiful day, and I should go and do that. You know, it's one of those things where no matter what I want to do, no matter what I feel like doing, the right moral, ethical thing to do is always really obvious. Should I go spend time with the kid or not? Gee, I don't know. Yeah, in really small English towns, literally all you have is a pub and a shop and a church. Right. So they're not like going as a group to the pub, chugging back a bunch of beer or whatever, and then going as a group to the pub down the street. Like that's not how that works. Right? And that's not even traditionally, I don't think, how that would work. Nah, I was joking. They don't do anything to keep cis folks out. Which is funny because, you know, like pretty much everything I've ever been to, they don't do anything to keep trans folks out. Unless it's like a women's, like they've had to make the women's only events women's only, like strictly. And we all know why. Most trans societies are quite averse to the idea of checking that someone's legitimately one thing or another. Yeah. I would imagine so. Which, God forbid we would be able to take one another, generally speaking, at face value, right? I present myself as a middle-aged Midwestern mom type lady because I am that. And you should be able to take that at face value and like not assume I'm trying to like con you somehow. Like that's so weird. We should be able to do that just anyway. Which, given the history of trans medical gatekeeping, it's upheld some sexist stereotypes, especially in Britain, this is understandable. Yeah. But unfortunately, nowadays, it means that trans societies don't want to bother distinguishing between an autogynephile and a regular transsexual. Yeah, they went too far the other way, I guess, right? Like, and I find myself saying this about a lot of things. There must be a happy middle ground somewhere. But we can't decide what it is. We can't have nuance in the conversation because everybody is so amped up all the time, I think is what it is. It's what we were saying earlier about AI. Some people are just fucking terrified of that shit. Unfortunately, that makes having a rational, general debate about that topic pretty difficult. That's why they get all wait. And that's what makes me uncomfortable because I know some people, some of the autogynephiles who are into sissy porn stuff, consider living as a trans woman like I do to be this degrading act. And that's why they get off on it. Ooh. The level of misogyny involved in that is mind-boggling. And like, I don't want to hang out with someone who views me that way, you know? Yeah. I wouldn't either. Unfortunately, that's just kind of life as a woman sometimes. Like I get it. I do. Cause like, you know, imagine like that guy thinks that living like that is humiliating because he thinks being like that is humiliating. Imagine how he thinks about women. Imagine being in a conversation with that dude as a woman where, you know, you can't take it off. You're not actually, you know, better secretly underneath, you know. And it's weird because sometimes you will discover that someone has the, you know, you can have known someone for years and not realize that that was the dynamic there because they're nice to your face. I guess in one way, at least those guys kind of let you know by how they present themselves. I'm sure that you, maybe someone like me wouldn't necessarily be able to spot one, but I bet you can from across the room, right? I bet you know exactly who you're dealing with before they even speak to you. Not necessarily all men, but the AGPs who would see you as, an act of humiliation, I bet you know them from across a room, right? Oh, yeah, the misogyny is off the walls. Yeah, oh my God. That's bad shit. I'm sorry, but. And it's someone like you that don't mean to be derogatory, but someone in your position is standing there looking at them saying, y'all crazy, means they're crazy. Like, it's like asking you about British stuff because you're British, okay? Asking you about trans stuff because you're trans. Like, there is something to that. And if you're the one sitting there going, that's unhealthy and wrong, it's probably unhealthy and wrong. Who the fuck is going to argue with you? I guess what I'm saying is I personally would defer to your expertise on that subject. Like, I'm not even trying to be facetious. Like, seriously. And it's one of those things where they only give out doctorates in some things. But I've definitely met people who have like a doctorate from life in such and such, and it's just by virtue of their level of experience. You have to respect what the fuck they say about something, because what the fuck are you going to argue with? How are you going to, this is like that. Where I might definitely have some opinions on this subject, but I would let you speak first, The AGP types, yeah, like there's some gray area because sometimes they early transition trans people dress similarly because they just don't know how to do femme clothing yet. Right. Okay. But so then they open their mouth, right? Like I'm projecting a little bit because I know in my own experience, there are certain types of people who I've just run into so many of them that I can't identify them from across a room just by the way they talk. So sometimes it can be hard to tell whether someone who dresses in a stereotypically AGP manner is actually this, that, or is just new to stuff. Right. Which is why I'm saying, like, there's more to it than that, than just the way that someone is dressed. And again, I think that applies just generally. It is but one factor. And this is how I've started thinking of it. Like, instead of black and white, this or that, I've kind of started thinking of information clusters and like constellations, of information, of like nodes of like ideas. Does that make sense? And I'll be damned if it isn't a hell of a lot more interesting and like productive than just binary thinking, this or that, yes or no, on or off, good or bad. I mean, yeah, eventually you have to categorize shit into good or bad because bad stuff is destructive and you don't want that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I guess you could say I live in a gray area. But like black and white, that's not even. It's a metaphor, right? Like, it's a metaphor, you guys. Oh my God, yeah, the AGB types say completely different things from really transition folks. See, that's what I'm saying. And it's not sometimes always the way that somebody talks. A lot of times it's the kind of stuff that they choose to say, the stuff they talk about. Oh, gosh. Reminds me of my cousin, who I am pretty sure is not watching this, called me up a couple of nights ago, asked me one question, the whole conversation. One. I was on the phone with her for 20 minutes. And updates about all the stuff going on with her. Mind you, she has like a photographic memory. She remembers that I told her I'm writing a book. She remembers that I told her I have a YouTube channel. Did she ask me about any of this? No. Like, someone who's not an gynophile doesn't find it hot to just wear ordinary women's clothes to go to the shops. Like women's cut sweatpants and a hoodie. Right. And that is the kind of thing that, from my perspective, is like, that's just not how women do. That's not how what? That's not what being a woman is. No. And then we get into talking about how we're not actually allowed to talk about what being a woman is. Because some woman is going to step up and say, hey, that's not me. It's part-time law. Oh, yeah. It is. It's after 2. I got to go. Also, not necessarily knowing for a while if they keep it secret. I actually helped someone do voice training, and then it got revealed later that they transitioned because of sissy porn. I felt really uncomfortable. Ooh. Yeah, that's you've been roped into helping somebody do something you're not comfortable with. And see, that's why it as a lifestyle, as a kink lifestyle is upsetting, right? We don't want to be set dressing in your ridiculously over sexualized main character syndrome, do we? We don't want to be NPCs in your grand narrative. That's not what like all the world's a stage and we are merely players. All the world is not your stage. Like, come on. That's not what that means. Oh. And that is some sick narcissistic shit. That right there, that whole. And it's like, yeah, you can it sort of crosses over into like some new age stuff and some manifestation stuff, honestly, because it's like, yeah, you kind of can just remake your whole life by, virtue of the power of your own ego. You can. You're gonna fuck up a lot of your relationships along the way, though, because, well, that's really wicked selfish, isn't it? Yeah. Which is why their marriages fail, right? Because that's the decision that they've made, is that they just can't handle this whole thinking about other people shit anymore. Which, again, this is a giant failure of empathy. You can tell what loops I've been thinking in lately. Finding a way to rationalize what you always wanted to do anyway doesn't make it any better. It just means that you've managed to convince yourself to act against your own best interest. That's what. Anyway, I have to go. Anyway. I'm talking in circles, so I have to go anyway. I had to take Boy to the park. I did say that. And I made the mistake of telling him that before I came back outside. So he himself will probably be making an appearance here in just a minute to let me know that it's time to go. Oh, and lest I be seen as a hypocrite, we were talking about not using your kids' reviews. Not that he, Anyway, just trying to do another callback. I watched too much stand-up comedy growing up. If it doesn't have a callback, did it really matter? Was that, did that joke really matter if you can't bring it back at the end? So for everyone who is still here, thank you for hanging all this time. I do have to go, though. I hope you enjoy your pub night. And that the weather continues to cooperate with you. It's been nice over here, too, the last day or two, but it's that time of year. I suspect the ones who are 100% I am woman's now respect my pronouns probably don't last long in the marriage. Right. Because you want to talk about stepping all over somebody else's identity. Holy shit. And it's like there's enough drag on that, like morally and ethically, that you really just have to like go full bore for it. You've got to be patient and understand where people are coming from. Right. And if you're not willing to do that, well, you can expect the same in return. See you next week. Thank you. Leave me a comment. Oh, and I did see your thing about the female occultist. I haven't had an opportunity to look into it yet. I was hoping to talk about it, but yeah. I gotta go. And I will see y'all next week. Bye.